Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to our cozy little corner of the internet. I'm Pen and today I'll be reading chapters 6 and 7 of You're Not Like Them by Luffy Gear 5. I hope you guys enjoy this. The window's going to be open again today because it's a nice evening, nice weather, and it's a little bit stuffy in my room, but anyway. So once again, I apologise for any noises that come from the outside world. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get started on Chapter 6. Chapter 6. Dazai ran over as Atsushi dropped bonelessly to the ground, his head bouncing on the hard tarmac. Atsushi. He fell to his knees beside him, pulling the boy upright. Atsushi's head lolled about, body limp. What happened? Dazai, we should take him back to the hotel. Chuya knelt down beside him, pressing a hand on Atsushi's forehead. He's burning up. I didn't even realize. Everything was telling me so. Here's sensory overload. Jinko didn't say anything. Akutagawa scowled. Chuya shifted, nudging Dazai away. Follow me in the car. I'll take him as fast as I can. Dazai nodded, releasing his grip and watching as Chuya carefully lifted Atsushi into his arms, the two glowing red as the redhead used his ability before lifting into the air. Dazai hurried to the car, Akutagawa close behind. Why didn't he say anything? Chuya landed in his hotel room, glad that he'd left the window open like he usually did. He flew inside, rushing to place Atsushi on the sofa. Atsushi was hot in his arms, still having yet to come to. Come on, kid. He carefully laid him down, rushing to the bathroom and wetting a towel with cold water. He then hurried back, pulling off the boy's tie and braces and quickly pulling the shirt down his arms. He pauses for a moment, staring at the multitude of scars and old burns that covered his body. He'd glimpsed them earlier, but didn't see the full extent. Shaking himself mentally, Chuya chucked the cold towel under Atsushi's arms and over his chest. The redhead was about to collect another cold towel when Atsushi roused. The boy was breathing heavily, a feverish look in his eyes. I'm sorry, he gasped. Chuya hurried back, pressing a hand to the boy's forehead. It was still hot. It's fine, kid. You should just tell us about these things before they get this bad. I really don't know how you hid it from us for so long. Please don't hurt me. Kid, why would I? Chuya froze, looking at the boy. He took in the burns, the scars, the fear in his eyes. He also recalled the scars Akutagawa had on his body. Who hurt you? Chuya asked, holding his gaze. Did Dazai hurt you? Atsushi's eyes filled with tears, his breathing picking up as his eyes rolled again. Oi! Chuya shook him. Oi, kid, stay with me. Atsushi went limp. Fuck. At that moment, his hotel door clicked open. Chuya stood, hands fisted. He stalked around the sofa, eyeing Dazai as the brunette rushed in. Chuya swung his fist, punching him across the face. Dazai stumbled back against the wall. What the fuck? Chuya grabbed him by his collar. The scars. How did he get those scars? Dazai frowned. Chuya, this isn't... Did you do that to him? Dazai went silent, face blank with shock. Chuya gritted his teeth, ignoring Akutagawa closing the door behind him and going to attend to Atsushi. I thought you'd change. Chuya. Dazai sighed, shoving his hand away and straightening to his full height. No, they weren't because of me. He had those before we met him. They're from his orphanage, from the headmaster. Chuya glared at him. You better be telling the truth. Why would you care? Fuck you. Why shouldn't I? Dazai stared at him, an unreadable expression on his face. I read up on him, Dazai. He went from one hell to another. If I can save him from yet another, I will. Chuya-san, Dazai-san, he's come too. The redhead broke off, glancing at Akutagawa before hurrying over, a quiet Dazai at his heels. He knelt down, shaking his head. He did that earlier. He didn't stay conscious for very long. Atsushi stared up at them, gaze shifting over them. I'll be good. he huffed in a shallow breath. It's cold in the cage. Please, I'll be good. I promise. Cage? Chia took the opportunity to get another cold towel, rushing back to dab the boy's forehead. Atsushi flinched at the touch, his eyes shifting from his target's to his own in quick succession. Dazai quickly held one of his hands, helping Atsushi to calm down. Chia lifted his gaze to the brunette, narrowing his eyes in warning before returning to try and cool Atsushi down. It took a while, but he eventually cooled slightly, calming before falling asleep. Chia sat back, allowing Okutagawa to take over. He looked over at Dazai, the brunette's gaze pinned on Atsushi. What did he mean by a cage? Dazai didn't even look at him as he replied. He was kept in a cage in the basement of his orphanage. Most of the abuse he got was while he was in there. He spared him a glance. I want to find out more when he first joined the agency. They used to chain him in there. How big were the chains? Okutagawa asked. Dazai was quiet for a moment before he shook his head. For a child. Okutagawa replaced the towel over Atsushi with another, glancing at the door as Chuya and Dazai left. Atsushi had barely improved. Whatever it was he had clearly drained him. He was weak and feverish and only panicked when he woke up when his ability forced him into a sensory overload. Why can't he control his ability yet? Okutagawa didn't like to admit it, but he was worried. Atsushi was like a younger brother to him, and although they went on missions often, he'd never seen him like this. Okutagawa's irritation and anger about Atsushi's lack of control was more to cover his concern. He knew this and admitted it to himself, but it didn't help. Okutagawa absently refilled the cup of water from the jug on the ground, ready for when Atsushi next came to. He shifted his gaze to the boy, frowning at his open eyes. The heterochromatic irises reflected the light, bright with fever. Okutagawa pushed to his knees. Oi, Jinko, drink some water while you're awake. Offering the cup, he watched as Atsushi continued to stare at the ceiling. Jinko, take the cup. Atsushi slowly looked over at him, holding his gaze. Now that he was looking at him, Okutagawa could see the fear they had. Atsushi shook his head. Jinko. Atsushi's eyes widened and he slammed a hand over his mouth, slipping off the sofa with a quiet thump. Okutagawa pushed him off, steadying the other when he wavered. What the fuck are you doing? Atsushi had placed his hands on his ears, ducking his head. He never said a word. Okutagawa let him be, shifting to sit a small distance away. He didn't know what Atsushi was seeing or hearing, or if he was even seeing or hearing something real at all. It took quite a while for Chuya and Dazai to return. The noise the two made as they entered causing Atsushi to curl up tighter. The two looked at him before looking over at Okutagawa. What's wrong? Chuya asked. Okutagawa shook his head. He's scared. He won't say anything. He's hiding, Dazai concluded. He sighed, moving to sit on the ground beside Atsushi. He's hiding to protect himself. Chapter 7. Shifting his legs slightly further forwards, Dazai leant against the wall beside him, placing a fresh jug of water on the table beside him. Atsushi had been in and out of consciousness for the past 2 days, in which neither Chuya, Okutagawa or himself had progressed much in the case. Worse yet, another child had been kidnapped. Dazai sighed, picking out the small corner of paper in his pocket. The edge was burnt, a logo half cut off by the blackened burn. He turned it over in his hand, thinking back to the car park they'd visited when he'd found it. The logo's origin had been easy enough to find. It was one of a company that ran orphanages, only there weren't any orphanages of that company in the area. Well, not running ones. It had taken a bit more searching, but eventually he found one. It was abandoned and due to be demolished. He tried to visit the place yesterday, but Atsushi's condition had worsened. Now he was tasked to wait until Chuya and Akutagawa returned from visiting another family. He could only leave when they returned. The brunette sighed again, looking over his subordinate. Come on, Atsushi, get better. He was almost tempted to take him to the hospital, but going there would risk their case, and Dazai knew Atsushi wouldn't be able to take that. He even considered getting Yoshino to come, but Yoshino's ability had its limits. Illnesses were like poisons, and her ability didn't deal with them well. Asking Kunikita to take Atsushi back was also out of the question, for the same reason as going to the hospital. Atsushi would only feel guilt, but for his health, it might be the better option. For some reason, neither Chuya or Akutagawa had said anything on the matter, merely accepting their new shifts as they continued to keep an eye on Atsushi. Dazai took in the boy's pale pallor, his slight blush to his cheeks, and sweatiness to his face. Then, as it happened before, Atsushi opened his eyes. Unlike before, he shot upright, slamming into the floor as he fell before scrambling away quickly. Dazai stood, looking around the room tensely. It stared back blankly. He frowned, turning to his subordinate. Atsushi-kun? I don't want to, Atsushi shouted. He had his hands gripping his feet tightly, nails digging into the flesh. Don't make me do it, please, I can't. Tears spilled down his cheeks and he brushed them away harshly, shaking his head. It hurts. Dazai made his way over, crouching before him. Atsushi, I'm not going to make you do anything. The boy ducked his head, shaking. You're lying. If I don't, he will. Who will? The headmaster. Dazai stared at the boy, searching his mind for a way to calm him. Look, Atsushi. Nail and hammer. What? He had a nail and hammer. The white-haired boy rubbed his thumb over the round scar on either foot. Dazai felt his stomach sink in realization. He nailed him to the floor of his cell. You won't leave me on my own, will you? Dazai looked up, realizing Atsushi was staring at him. He took a moment to recall his words before shaking his head. No, of course not. He forgot about me down there. I was left alone. I was left alone for weeks. I didn't even care about the food. I just wanted someone to help. Atsushi's voice cracked. But no one saved me. Dazai froze, an ache in his chest. No one saved me. I had Odasaku, Akutagawa had me. Despite everything, Chuya had his brother. But Atsushi? He shifted closer, ignoring the way Atsushi flinched at the movement. Atsushi didn't have anyone. His life was abuse, and he only got out when he was an adult already. I don't like pain, Dazai-san, Atsushi suddenly said, his voice rough and hoarse from his dry throat and fever. He didn't even seem to notice as he continued. But I don't think I can feel it anymore. I got electrocuted once by Shibuzawa. That hurt, I remember. Dazai nodded. No, he didn't know what to say. He glanced up as the apartment door opened. Chuya and Akutagawa entering. Dazai was quick to quiet them as they went to speak, pointing to Atsushi. The three looked at the boy, Atsushi's gaze having focus on the wall opposite him. Atsushi shivered. But no one came. Atsushi blinked his eyes open. He felt hot and clammy, his body weak. He turned to his right, looking around the space. Dazai sat there, Chuya and Akutagawa's voice sounding elsewhere in the room. He swallowed, throat dry. Dazai-san? The brunette looked up at him, eyes curious for a moment as he searched his face before clearing. Atsushi-kun. His voice was surprised, a small smile gracing his face. You're awake. Atsushi stared for a moment before pushing himself upright. His body ached, muscles trembling with the easy movement. Weak. Here, Dazai helped him up, leaving him to rest against the sofa back before handing him a cup of water. Atsushi took it, staring at the rippling surface. The sudden high-pitched ringing sounded from the vents, and Atsushi closed his eyes, his memories resurfacing. He remembered the water flooding his lungs as he tried to breathe, the headmaster pulling on the chains and pushed his head into the liquid even as he blacked out. Atsushi placed down the cup. Through the whole fever, though he barely remembered it, he felt as if he lived the orphanage, and the sound of that vent only sounded like screaming in his head. Dazai watched him closely. "You need to drink." "I'm fine, Atsushi." "Dazai-san?" His voice cracked as he swallowed past it. "Please." The brunette looked over at him before sighing. "The headmaster?" Atsushi tensed. "You spoke in your fever." His breath caught as he clenched the fabric of his trousers. What did I say?" "Not much, but enough. So, we know some of what happened to you when you were there. Pathetic, useless, worthless. You deserve to die." Dazai sighed again. "Look, Atsushi-kun, there's not much I can say about it all, but we're here to help you, so let us." Atsushi frowned, holding Dazai's gaze. He shook himself mentally. "You don't deserve the help. How's the case been going?" Dazai raised an eyebrow, nodding. "It's not been progressing very well. We've been going around meeting the families of children taken, but not getting much. We also managed to look at the evidence the police took yesterday, but again, there wasn't much to go off of." Atsushi frowned. "How long was I out for?" 3 days. "What? 3 days?" Atsushi buried his face in his hands. "I wouldn't worry about a kid. The case hadn't progressed whether or not you were coming or not." Glancing up at the redhead, Atsushi watched as Chuya re-handed him the cup of water. He took it, taking a sip. It was surprisingly pleasant, washing away the stale spit in his mouth. His body still felt weak, and he hated how his arms shook. "I need a shower." "I have an idea, though," Dazai piped up. "I want to plot on a map where each of their homes are." "Why?" Okugawa asked. "Because there'll be a pattern there." Okay, everyone, that was chapter 6 and 7 of You're Not Like Them by Luffy Gear 5. I'm really enjoying the story. It's such a good story. It's such a good fic. As I said in the first ep, I'm not sure if I did first or second, but either way, if you're here, I'm guessing you've watched the other ones. But as I said before, I have read this entire thing through, and it is heart-wrenching at the end. Not gonna say any more than that, but it is heart-wrenching. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later. Make sure to take care of yourself. Bye-bye.